145 people say they were stabbed at music festivals in France. But they weren't stabbed with a knife. They say they were stabbed with a needle. Hi there, everyone. It's Jeff, and this is Plain English for Thursday, July 17th, 2025. Great to have you with us right in the middle of summer. I love this time of year, and thanks for working Plain English into your summer plans. If you've been with us for a while, then you know that Plain English is where you get to practice listening in English, but really thinking in English. In every episode, we talk about something going on in the world. And as you can hear, we go nice and slow so you can understand every word. And for every episode, we have a lot more on the website. This is episode number 791, so you can find the full transcript, quiz, exercises, and more at plainenglish.com/791. Today's story is about crime. We don't do too many of these stories, but in France, just a few weeks ago, almost 150 people reported being jabbed with needles at a music festival. And this isn't the first time something like this has happened. Today, we'll take a look at what happened in France and whether you should be worried during this music festival season. Before we start today's story, I'd just like to remind you that the podcast is just one part of how we can help you upgrade your English skills. At plainenglish.com, you can make faster progress with active learning strategies. You can take quizzes, do activities, listen to the fast version of the audio, watch video workshops, practice what you learn, and even join a live call with JR and me. It's all about helping you build your skills to become a better, more confident English speaker. Sound good? Go to plainenglish.com to start your free 14-day trial today. Now, let's jump into today's story. The Fête de la Musique is a popular music festival in France and around the world. Towns and cities host concerts and events on streets, sidewalks, and in parks to celebrate the summer solstice, the longest day of the year. But this year, the festival took an ugly turn for some fans. 145 people say they were stabbed with a hypodermic needle during the festivals. And it wasn't in just one concentrated area. It was all around France. 13 reports were made in Paris. Angoulême, a small city in the southwest of France, saw 50 cases. Victims say they felt an unexpected pinch and then felt unwell. Several were taken to the hospital. This is not the first time a wave of needle stabbings has been reported in crowded places. In 2021 and 2022, French authorities received over 400 complaints of people getting stabbed with syringes in nightclubs, bars, and concerts. 60 people reported being stabbed with needles in nightclubs in Spain during that same time. About 1,300 were reported in the UK in 2021. Most cases have been in Europe, and most have been at nightclubs. But in April this year, dozens of people in Mexico City reported being stuck with needles in the city's crowded subways and buses. The victims in Mexico as in Europe, were mostly women. The numbers aren't huge. 1,300 people in the entire UK, a country of 68 million, a few dozen on the subway in North America's biggest city. This doesn't exactly count as a worldwide crime wave. But it is concerning. You don't know what's in the needle. And unless you avoid crowded places entirely, you can never fully avoid the danger of being pricked. So what do victims say they feel? Most reports start the same way. Victims say they felt a sudden pinch or pinprick on some part of their body, usually the arms, back, or buttocks. It's usually minor, like a quick injection. Victims later discover a puncture mark, bruise, or redness in the area they were jabbed. For many victims, that's where it ends. They don't feel any more physical symptoms. Others, however, say they feel dizziness, lightheadedness, nausea, confusion, and sudden fatigue. In a handful of cases, victims experienced extreme drowsiness, memory loss, or even brief unconsciousness. The biggest mystery is what's in the needle. One possibility is classic date rape drugs, like what might be slipped into a drink. These drugs cause dizziness, drowsiness, and memory loss, which is consistent with the symptoms many victims report. But these drugs disappear from your system within 6 to 12 hours. So unless victims get a toxicology test right away, they would not test positive for these drugs. And in almost all the European cases, toxicology tests didn't show anything unusual in the victims' systems. That doesn't prove that there was nothing in the needle. It just means that nothing unusual stayed in the victim's systems long enough to show up in a tox screen. And many victims didn't go for screening right away. Tests from the music festival victims in 2025 are not in yet. In Mexico City, authorities made a troubling discovery. Toxicology tests revealed some victims had benzodiazepines in their system. These are tranquilizers. They are prescription medications for anxiety and insomnia, but they're also sold illegally. Still, the amounts in the victims' systems were low. And in nearly all cases, the stabbing didn't lead to secondary crimes like robbery, assault, or kidnapping. So why do it? What's the point of stabbing someone with a needle, especially if there's no drug, or just enough to cause minor discomfort? Perpetrators might be doing this just to cause widespread panic and anxiety, not for any other reason. They might just get a thrill out of seeing people panic, out of watching their victims react, or just by knowing they're causing emotional trauma. Speaking of perpetrators, it's hard to catch them. The stabbings usually happen in crowded places. Victims say they feel a strange pinprick. They're surprised. But by the time they think to look around, they just see a sea of strangers. There have been some arrests. At the Fête de la Musique this year, French police detained 12 people nationwide. In one case, a man was caught with a syringe, and one of his victims recognized him. In Mexico, a man was caught in the act of stabbing a woman on the metro. But these are the exceptions. The stabbings, if you can call them that, have managed to get a lot of publicity. The word stabbing, at least in English, sounds dramatic. It grabs your attention. Videos of victims telling their stories circulated on TikTok, and major media outlets from around the world published stories about the incidents. I take the Mexico City subway almost every day. It is crowded in there. Not every line, not every time of day. But I would not want to be injected with a tranquilizer during rush hour. Summer Music Festival is well underway in Europe. If you feel a pinprick while you're out there, the best thing is to take a quick break, find a trusted friend, and take care of yourself. Get to a hospital because you never know what's in or on a needle. That does it for us here at Plain English on this Thursday, July 17th, 2025. Thanks for making Plain English part of your English learning routine. And if you only listen to the podcast, you're missing out. You're missing all that we have online. There are great ways to continue learning in English after you're done listening to the audio. You can find it all for this episode at plainenglish.com/791. That's a quiz, speaking exercises, listening exercises, and more. plainenglish.com/791. We'll be back on Monday with a new topic. See you then. Listen up. If you speak Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, or Turkish. One of the most frustrating things about listening and reading in a second language is being confused by unfamiliar words or phrases. When you listen to Plain English, or when you read the transcript, you probably encounter some words you don't know. When that happens, you have a few options. You can stop the audio, go look up the definition, then return to the episode, find your place, and press play again, but that's exhausting. Or you can just skip it and be confused. That's no fun either. But what if you could see the translation of the word into your language instantly without having to stop the audio, without having to look anything up? Well, you can at plainenglish.com. For each episode, we translate about 100 words and phrases from English to 9 languages: Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, and Turkish. And we highlight those words in blue. All you have to do is hover your mouse over the highlighted word, and you'll see the translation instantly. It works great on mobile too. It really makes listening a lot more satisfying, and it's a great way to expand your vocabulary in English. The best way to see these translations is to sign up for a free 14-day trial at plainenglish.com. During your trial, you can read as many transcripts as you like, all with the translations into your language. So sign up for your free trial today at plainenglish.com.